The year was 2138, and trace was the new currency. Not just any currency, but a real-time measure of the intangible essence that made a person who they were. Memories, beliefs, and emotions. The Global Council had argued it was a fairer system. Why rely on labor or even digital cryptocurrency when you could simply quantify a person's soul? Max Ferrel awoke to the soft hum of his trace sync implant calibrating. He winced as the synaptic sensors fired up, syncing him to the global trace net. His trace, at last count, was low. But today was the day he'd make it big. He was set to sell memories. Mr. Ferrel, please confirm you understand the contract. The sleek voice of a digital assistant chimed in his ear. Confirm? Max grunted, rubbing his temples. They hadn't fully disclosed what memory they would take or what they'd do with it. All he knew was that it was a prime extraction, a rare process where they extracted a core memory, one linked to his core identity. But the pay was monumental, enough to boost his trace for a year. Max sat back, preparing himself for the hazy yet surgical feeling of the extraction. He imagined himself as he once was a teenager on the rain-wet streets of Neo-Nova, eyes wide with wonder, exploring the city lights with his brother. The memories were vivid, sweet with nostalgia, tinged with the electric hope he used to feel. The digital assistant's voice brought him back. Extraction complete. We thank you for your contribution. As he blinked back into the present, something felt wrong. His apartment looked the same. The synthetic light filtering through his window hadn't changed, but something deeper, something nameless, gnawed at him. He pressed a hand to his head, where he could still feel a slight tingle. That night, as Max lay in bed, he tried to recall his brother's face. He knew he had a brother, yet the memory was a fog. Only fragments remained, incomplete. He saw them standing in a street, but the details were smeared like water on wet paint. Funny thing, isn't it? A raspy voice whispered. Max, shut up. A man stood in the corner of his room, his figure almost lost in the shadows, wearing a drab gray uniform, the insignia of Trace Security on his shoulder. You sold a memory of your brother. Problem is, sometimes memories don't like being severed. The man continued, stepping into the light. The more you sell, the more you lose the sense of who you are. What do you want? Max stammered. I'm just here to warn you. You're slipping, Mr. Ferrel. Most of you is just ghost data now. Fragments floating on the trace net. Max felt his stomach drop. Ghost data. People who sold too much trace ended up fading into shadows of themselves, their memories diffusing into the vast network. Their essence became a kind of public property stories, emotions, hopes, scattered in digital fragments across countless anonymous servers. The world still saw them, heard them, but what was left inside was nothing more than a hollow shell. Why don't you just take the rest of me then? Max said bitterly. The man smirked. You think we haven't tried? You're a glitch, Ferrel. A residue of the old days. Something that doesn't entirely fit into the network. No matter what we take, a piece of you stubbornly remains. Max shook his head, half in disbelief, half in horror. A glitch. Was that all he was? Think about it. the man said, turning to leave. If you want to survive, you have to find your own way out of the trace net, or disappear trying. He was gone as silently as he'd appeared. Max sat in the darkness, feeling the empty spaces where memories once thrived. There was only one path left, he realized. He'd have to dive deep into TraceNet itself, find the scattered pieces of himself, and reassemble them. As he lay back down, he couldn't shake the feeling that maybe he was already gone.